Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 9, Episode 56. That's Dave Bryan. I am Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. It is a gloomy Monday, and Dave, I know we're not the most well-structured show, but honestly, after this mess, the Steelers blowing a 23-7 lead to lose to the Chargers 33-30, I have no idea where to begin on this one.
We aren't structured at all. Let's be
yeah.
Let's be
honest. Neither is Keith Butler.
Yeah, let's be brutally honest here. Excuse me if you hear some lip smacking. I've eaten a lot of Lifesaver mints this morning, trying to get the bad taste out of my mouth from that debacle. I mean, I don't know what other way you can call that that game last night there, but geez, I mean, so many different ways we can go with this, and. You want to talk about another game for talent? Watching a Steelers game is like riding a roller coaster. You know what's probably going to happen most of the time on it. There's always some surprise twist, and a couple of times where you lose your stomach and all. And of course, probably 75% of the time the ride ends up in being okay. But last night it was one that went off the rails real bad, and you just go into these games wondering what kind of, and I think I said this the other day, recapping the Broncos game. You just wonder ahead of time what the in-game situation is going to end like, because you just don't have a lot of faith that they're just going to blow a team out like they did, say the Falcons or the Panthers earlier this season. And going into this one, we've talked for weeks now that this game against the Chargers, followed by the one against the Patriots and the Saints, would be to me, the first real test for the Steelers, and particularly for the defense. And while they passed that test mostly in the first half, they failed it miserably in the second half. Now, we're going to go over, obviously, penalties or non-penalties played a role in this one as well. But you can't rely on that kind of stuff. You have to, if you have to play the officials and play the other team as well, then you got to figure out a way to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, the refs were bad in this one. There's no getting around that. I'm not going to make excuses for it. And I'm not one to get on the refs too often because I feel like it's low-hanging fruit, and I just don't like to go there because so many others will go there. So while, yes, the refs were at their worst, this is an entirely winnable game despite that. And to use the refs as an excuse is just that. It is an excuse. The Steelers had so many things within their own control, refs aside, that they absolutely failed on offense, defense, and special teams, that there's no one to blame at the end of the day for this loss other than themselves. And it's super frustrating, Dave.
What was it? 4 or 5 missed possible false starts in this game. Obviously, the block in the back penalty could have been called. Should have been called on Brian Allen on the punt return for a touchdown. No false starts at all called in the game offensively. I know it's happened before, but it's just not something that you see very often. And it was all with them leaving point. We're going to go over this as well too. Leaving points on the board or on the field in the second quarter in particular ended up being bad, and the third quarter defensive play was just pitiful by the Steelers defense.
It was, and I don't know how much. Do you want to start diving into this thing right now, or do you want to cover the injury report first?
No, let's save the injury report for last. I mean, people want probably us to get into this thing, and let's get into it.
Okay, because listen, you can go through 1,000 issues in this game, and I don't put losses on one person.
You started to talk. You've been talking to me too much.
I got to open a book or something, get to the thesaurus or something, get myself back on track. But you can't put these on one person very often. But Keith Butler, Dave, and I've been critical of Butler, and I think he's done a better job since the first month of the year. I think some of the issues has been ironed out, but this might have been his worst game of the season and probably top 3 of his career as defensive coordinator. He put his guys in no position to win. And in the sight of John Bostic on Keenan Allen on 3rd and 4 with the game on the line, I mean, you want to talk about his overall performance in a nutshell, talking about Keith Butler, that's it. And that's not putting guys in position to succeed. Bostic has no chance. Butler had zero answer for Keenan Allen all game long. Goes for 10 catches, a $148 and a touchdown. That's pitiful. I mean, that one kills me.
And let's not forget that John Bostic only played 11 snaps in this game.
Right. What is Bostic doing out there? Ford was out there with a snap before, and they didn't switch personnel. They were still in base. Bostic comes out with Vince. I don't know what happened, but I want to know what happened.
All right, and you've already written about this, so I'm going to give you a chance to dive into it a little bit more. But let's get the surface of it out there for people who haven't seen it. And this is Kurt. Thank God, Next Gen Stats does an awesome job, and how they can get this stuff done as quickly as they do is phenomenal. Yes, we chart this stuff. There's no way in heck I can track it during the game, such as this, and do everything else that I do on Twitter and everything that goes along with it. But Keenan Allen was targeted 9 times when a Steelers linebacker was the nearest defender. No wide receiver has been targeted more against a linebacker in a game since Next Gen Stats began tracking nearest defender metrics in 2016. Here's the breakdown of those targets and who was covering them. Linebacker, 9 targets, 7 receptions for 70 yards. A cornerback covered Keenan Allen on 8 targets, 6 receptions for 68 yards. A safety covered Keenan Allen on 2 targets, 1 reception, 10 yards, and of course that was the touchdown in the end zone. So on targets alone, that's bad. When you have, and look, Keenan Allen's not going to shouldn't sneak up on anybody. I mean, we're talking about a guy that I don't know where you would put him in the wide receiver rankings league wide, but I mean,
outside top 10.
Yeah, top 15 at least, right?
Yep.
I mean, and to let him, be the number 3, which technically the number 3 is what?
The slot receiver.
Right. And to put a linebacker out on him. Now take it from there in your breakdown.
I mean, you did the work for me. That's what happened, and it happened repeatedly. It happened from the first snap of the game where you get Allen as a twin set receiver as a number 2 inside against Bud Dupree, and you hit a corner out for, what was it, I think a 14-yard gain. Butler's been so predictable in these situations, and that's been one of my biggest criticisms of him is his predictability, his lack of tendency breakers, and how easy it is for teams to line up and know what they're going to get. And Philip Rivers said as much after the game. You sent me the quotes from post-game, and this is what Philip Rivers said about some of the matchups. Rivers says, quote, "They really like to match everything up and zone everything up. If Keenan is number 3, my interpretation, the slot receiver, he's going to get matched up with a linebacker, and they just kind of match everything up." I mean, you go up, pre-snap, and you know what you're getting if Allen's in slot inside. He's going to be on a linebacker. You're going to likely get zone coverage. So that happened so many times. It happened on the first drive. It happened on the last drive. No adjustments throughout. I mean, that's the stuff that kills him. We've seen this already with Butler back in week 2 with T.J. Watt on Sammy Watkins for back-to-back plays, which should have been a touchdown, and it wasn't because of an overthrow from Mahomes. I mean, this is the stuff from Butler. I think Butler does well with his blitz schemes and some things like that. But when it comes to coverage and creating those matchups, Butler has done a horrendous job consistently, and he's failed to put his guys in position to succeed. And while things had settled down throughout the mid-portion of this year and during the win streak, it's come back to bite him in the butt this time around. And now you're going to be facing the Patriots, the Saints, teams with great coaches, great game plans, great quarterbacks and athletes across the board. And do you trust Keith Butler? I don't.
No, it's hard to, especially after a showing like that. Look, I mean, you can maybe get away with. Hey, here's what keeps running through my mind, and I posted a stat before the game on Twitter how the Steelers entered that game with the lowest deep pass completion percentage in the NFL entering this game. they're so concerned, I think, with not giving up the big pass, the big deep pass play, that they're almost like, take whatever you want, underneath, no matter what the matchup. We'll tackle the catch and live to fight another day. And sure, that stat looks good on paper, but when you allow what happened, what Phillip Rivers, he's what, in his second or third year in the league, Alex?
I think he's a rookie. No kids, rookie, I think.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen, I don't know, second, third.
Practice squad last week, I'm pretty sure.
You might be able to get away with that with some of these underdeveloped, new quarterbacks, but you're not going to get away with that mess with against Wiz and Phillip. Wiz, I mean, can you gift wrap that any more for him?
Yeah, I mean, Wiz has to be laughing about that. And if you're a Steelers player, I mean, obviously I can't speak for them, but again, it comes back to trust. And do you trust your coach to put you in good situations? When you get that crap, when you get Bostic on Allen, which is not Bostic's fault at all, he's got no chance. I mean, what do you want him to do? Allen's just running a quick out and Bostic's inside leverage. But if you're a player, do you trust your coach to put you in a good situation the next time out? I don't. I mean, that's what the evidence tells me. And that is how you lose guys. That's how coaches get fired, and that's where we're at right now.
Well, I don't think. I mean, obviously, we don't think Keith Butler's going to get fired, right?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying.
I already got a tweet this morning that says, Dave, you get on some people on Twitter, for calling for coaches to be fired during the season, and in the winners losers post, you put that Keith Butler needs to be fired. I think it was kind of almost, was it tongue in cheek or what you said, a fireable offense, I think is what you wrote.
Yeah, I didn't call for Butler to be fired. I said putting Bostic on Allen in itself in a vacuum is a fireable offense. I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but it's terrible. I mean, it's an awful situation. It puts your guys in no position to succeed. I know I've said that a million times, but I cannot stress it enough. And that goes back to trust. If you're Cam Hayward, if you're Bostic, if you're whoever on that defense, and it's a big play moment that's going to happen again at some point this year, do you trust the call that's coming in? Because I think Butler time and time again has shown he's not making the right calls. He's not putting guys in position to win, and that's how you lose guys.
And I talked about deep passes. I'm looking at the raw charting of us and the completions to Allen in this game, and it says that the furthest, let's see, he was not targeted deep on any of his completions in the game, and by deep targets we're meaning over 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. He had a 14-yard target, a 10-yard target, a 10-yard target, a 14-yard target, and a 12-yard target of his completions. The rest of his completions, and I'm not seeing any penalties. How many catches did he have?
10.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Shoes are off.
Huh? Yeah.
Shoes are off.
Yeah, shoes are off. I'm trying to see why this. How many penalties were there? Anyway, most of the distances of his completions were under 10 yards. No, I'm sorry. Here we go. Yeah, most of his completions to him, the ball flew under 10 yards.
Okay, and when you got linebackers matched up, you're just taking that. I mean, that's candy from a baby. You know what the worst part of that final play, where Bostic got matched up on Allen was? That play should have been a win for the Steelers defense. Javon Hargrave killed Mike Pouncey. Perfect pressure, just whooped him off the snap. If there's even just below average coverage on that play, you're playing man coverage with, I don't care, Cody Sensabaugh or whatever. I mean, Rivers is either going to make a poor throw or take the sack or whatever, because Hargrave got there like that. All you have to do is just be remotely close to Allen. But because of the fact that Allen was so open, he got a linebacker on him, Rivers is able to get the ball away, and Hargrave's pressure goes for naught. And that should have been a drive killer right there.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, they got, especially in the first half, good pressure on Rivers. And he did a good job of stepping up and taking a few hits in there too and delivering the football and get away. Allen had 14 catches, by the way.
Was it 14?
Huh? I thought you said 10.
I did say 10. Was it 14?
Yes, it was 14.
Okay, so I said it wrong. Okay,
Yeah,
well
so
that makes sense.
I'm hearing my shoes off, and I'm trying to figure why I got all these extra toes on this sheet here. But yeah, I mean and the one time that you get a shot at picking off a pass intended for him in the end zone.
Yeah.
With the ball awareness, you have Joe Hayden and Sean Davis, both with maybe too much ball awareness, and they clash into each other. The ball bounces up in the air, and Keenan Allen makes a nice play for a touchdown.
Yeah, play the wacky music. Yeah, no, Hayden played that well. Should have been a pick. And to go a little bit larger perspective with the Steelers defense, and Dave, you and I have talked about it before, and I saw you tweeting about it during the game. This defense, 1 turnover in 3 games, and that was the final play of the game against Jacksonville, which we know barely counts. I mean, this defense is not creating splash. They're not forcing turnovers. They're not going to beat good teams that way. Just not going to happen.
If you're not aggressive, it's not, more aggressive in coverage. You're not. I mean, you can't rely on the strip sack. Right. I mean, right. But I mean, we went into this game knowing Phillip Rivers had only thrown 6 interceptions. I tweeted before the game, I think Eckler had 3 fumbles on, I don't know, 107. I don't know what the number was, total touches that he's had since he's been in the league. I didn't feel confident about them getting an interception in this game, going into this game last night. But I think you had probably maybe two opportunities in this game to get one, right? The one in the end zone and the one that was hit off. I forget who it hit off of, bounced up in the air and it was out of the reach of T.J. Watt. Now, I guess
that one batted at the line.
I don't remember. I can't remember how that one happened. Now, I guess you could consider the blocked punt a turnover, maybe. But if you're going to consider that one a turnover, then maybe you should consider the punt return for a touchdown a turnover as well too. And I think I wrote in my 5 keys before the game, if they outright lose the turnover battle, they're probably not going to win this game. And they didn't technically win the turnover battle. It was 1-0, and that one by Ben. I don't know if what else do you have to add about the defense? Those zone runs in the second half. We talked all this time about, man, better watch out for Eckler. This guy's underrated backup, blah, blah, blah. Got to watch him out of the backfield, all like that. He had 13 carries for 21 yards with a long of 7 in the game. He caught 5 passes for 22 yards. You did your job there. But, we didn't even hardly talk about, I don't think we did, Jackson. He comes in and really, I mean, he was the killer in the second half. He had 8 carries for 63 yards and that long touchdown in addition to a catch for 1 catch for 19 yards. And I think Cam Hayward talked about this after the game too on the zone runs.
Yeah, they did a great job in the first half, shutting down the run, and then the floodgates opened in the second half. I don't know exactly what went wrong.
Hold on, 2
yards.
2 yards in the first half.
Yeah, and that was because of the final play of the half. They kind of just ran the ball up the gut just to get some positive yards. But yeah, it was just guys not being in their gap. The tackling was horrendous. The tackling was decent in the first half. It was pretty good. And then it just falls apart in the second half. Sean Davis struggles mightily again. Davis is having a really rough couple of weeks here. And then guys just seem tired and worn down. And they weren't playing a ton of snaps either. It wasn't like the Jacksonville game where you understand why guys are, pretty tired-legged out there. On that touchdown, Jackson's able to cut that one back into the teeth of the defense, and no one touches him. I don't know how that happened. So, when your defense isn't tackling well, when you're not creating turnovers, when the pressure's a little hit and miss, it's just bad news across the board.
What would you have done differently in the second half defensively? With Keenan Allen move?
Yeah, I mean, really anything. I mean, I'm not going to, sometimes you try stuff and it doesn't work. Allen's a great receiver. He's one of the most technical route runners in football. Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback. But, you're not playing this zone coverage with linebackers. You're going to be traveling more with Hayden. You're trying to get Hilton on Allen some more. You're just doing some tendency breakers. You're doing some stuff that's different. And if you're going to put a linebacker on, you got to be blitzing in those situations. We've seen linebackers match up on receivers in the past, and they're bad matchups, obviously. But usually it's the result of some sort of fire zone blitz, where you say, well, if the pressure gets home, we're not going to get killed by having the linebacker on the receiver. But you weren't even getting that. You were just getting basic spot drop zone coverage with, linebacker, Fort, Dupree, Bostic on the receiver. So you could do one of 1,000 different things. You have to mix coverages up. you just can't be predictable. I mean, Rivers is walking the line of scrimmage, seeing Allen's number 3, seeing a linebacker near him, and just going, this is a first down. And it was. So I don't care what Butler would have done. You can't do that, though.
We went into this game, too, talking, stemming from what Mike Tomlin had to say during his, I think his Tuesday press conference about how the Chargers are so deadly on first down situations. The Steelers did a good job relatively up until, I guess, let's see. I'm trying to look at first half first downs and success rates. They held them to a good success rate, other than the pass deep to Benjamin for a touchdown came on 1st and 10. Outside of that, they did a good job on first down against the Chargers in the first half. The second half, however, a little bit different story, and especially on what I think was the Chargers' 9th offensive possession of the game, where they just were killing the Steelers on first down. And as we talked about, if you let them get yardage on first down with the quarterback and the way they like to run their offense, I mean, third down, if they get in any third downs, they're going to be in very makeable situations. And what did they hold them to in the third down percentage in the first half versus the second half? The Chargers, let's see, where is it here? First half summary. Third downs, the Chargers were 2 of 7 on third downs in the first half for 29%. What an excellent job that was. But they ended the game 6 of 11, so they were 4 for 4.
Yep, reverse of the Steelers, who went 3 for 3 to start and finished it 0 for 7. I'll have to look at the numbers because I have no idea what they say, but I felt like even in the second half, the Steelers did a decent job of winning on first down, creating some positive plays for themselves. But like the Denver game last week,
whoa, in the first half?
No, in the second half even.
Oh.
The Steelers defense, I'll have to look at the numbers, but I thought they did a decent job overall on first down. But it felt like, the Chargers were getting it all back on 2nd and 10 and 2nd and 12. I think it was even a 2nd and 16 off the Hargrave sack where they got, I think, a first down on the very next play. So it was like the Denver game where you got some positive stops very early in the series, but then you gave it all back on 2nd down, or gave most of it back and you put teams in very manageable 3rd and short. So I'll have to look at the numbers on that one. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I know there were definitely some instances where you got stops on first down, like the Terrell Edmonds blowing up that screen pass to Eckler, and then on 2nd and 10, you give up the first down, and that stuff's just incredibly frustrating.
Well, on that one drive, they gave up a 2nd and 14 for a touchdown and a 3rd and 14 for a touchdown, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm talking about. That's the stuff that's killing you.
All right, now I'm looking at the numbers here in the second half on first down. I think this has the penalties out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 first down plays. And as far as successful rates on that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So almost 50% success rate. Probably more along the lines of 45%, I guess, on first downs in the second half.
Yeah, I'll have to look at the numbers. I mean, that does maybe kind of skew what I was saying, but still, there were times definitely where they were getting stops on first down, putting teams in 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 12 or whatever the case, and just couldn't make the next 2 plays.
And look, I mean, say what you will. Once again, I mean, and we're gonna bang on the offense quite a bit here in a little bit, but they did manage to tie the game. At the end there, and at that point, you need your defense to step up, and they absolutely couldn't do it. You know that, and look, credit to what the Chargers did on that final drive as well too, because they did mix in. How many runs did they mix in? They a few of them there. I mean, they opened up passing. Eckler left guard for 2 yards, 2nd and 8. Rivers to Keenan Allen for 12 yards. Jackson, that's when Jackson really started to hit up the middle for 11, 3 more yards, and then Rivers. But look, they were able to still use a little bit of the run mixed in there too, because obviously they want to eat up some clock in the process, because they got that final possession at 4:10. I mean, and they milked you want to talk about a game-winning 4-minute offense drive? That was it.
Yep. That's textbook. Drain the clock, walk away with a win, give the offense, especially Steelers offense, no chance to make a play. But yeah, Steelers had the chances to get off the field. Like I said, that third down call against Boston, it was 3rd and 4 with a minute 12 left. You get a stop there. Even if the Chargers make a field goal, it'd be tough for Bagley. Your offense still gets a chance at least. Last team with the ball, you trust them, but that's where this defense is at. You felt like they weren't getting enough pressure. It was okay. It wasn't good enough. They weren't getting home the whole way. And you just don't trust them to create a turnover, to create that big play. The secondary has very limited ball skills. The inside linebackers don't create enough splash. Ford had a strong game, but even he's not a particularly splashy type of guy. You're going to have to find that guy in the offseason because he's not going to be there the rest of this year.
Right. And, all right, you ready to move over to the offense now?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm mad.
All right. Where do you want to start? They opened up. Obviously in good fashion with a 4-play 58-yard drive that was aided by the long pass to Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah, and I felt like you could stress this Chargers team vertically, and we talked about that on Friday's show, going over the Chargers defensive scouting report, where they play more cover 3 and more single high safety than basically any other team in football. And one of the things you can beat teams with is 4 verticals and just kind of going deep. And so you get that chunk play against Casey Hayward, a good cornerback, but basically one-on-one coverage. You trust AB to make that play. And, you're able to punch it in from a yard out. And the red zone offense overall was really strong, as usual, 3 for 3. You left too many points on the board. Both, Ben overthrowing Hunter, the Boswell missed extra point. And then the second half, you couldn't convert on third down. It felt like the Baltimore game back in week 4, where you started hot on third down. You were 3 for 3. I think, in the first quarter and a half, and then you finish it 0 for 7, and there's the story there.
And the stats going into this game back up everything in the scouting post that you had on this defense as well too. That Chargers defense entered this game with we talked about the Steelers having the best deep pass completion against in the league heading into this game. Well, the Chargers had the second worst at well over 50%. I think it was only the Colts that had a worse percentage than the Chargers did. So, it should have been there, and it was there early on in this game as well too. Obviously with the pass to AB and a few other times, and yeah, you can't. As good, and they jumped up 13-0, and we'll cover the missed extra point here in a minute. But that was the first time since week 5 that the Steelers offense has opened the game with back-to-back touchdown drives, and you're thinking, hey, how many times have we gone into these highly anticipated? This is going to be a good matchup. Primetime game, only to see the Steelers, jump on the other team and blow them out. Well, it started to look like it was going to be that way, up 13-0 at that point.
How did you think Ben played overall? What would you grade him if you had to put a grade on him?
Well, I had to go back and still look at sure. A lot of the throws here, but I tell you, on first down early in the game. He wasn't great. I think he was 2 of 8 on, I'm trying to find my numbers here, 2 of 8 on first downs in the first half outside of the final drive. The 6th offensive possession was the 2-minute drive. Ben was 2 of 8 on first down passes in the first half until final drive at a half for 50 yards, and of course 46 of those yards was the deep pass to Antonio Brown. So they overcame a lot of inefficiency, I guess you would call it, on first downs in the first half of the game. So they were able to do that. The running game, obviously, not great, right? It
was okay.
It was enough. People probably say, well, why didn't you run more, versus pass? No, well, I just told you, 2 of 8 on first down passes for 50 yards with just one of those being a successful play. Got to be better on first down. It's so hard to go into second and long situations like that. And look, the offensive line, for the most part, they played well throughout the game, I thought, right?
Yeah, Ben got all day back there against a really tough Chargers pass rush. It's only getting better with Bosa not coming back full time and Melvin Ingram kind of being freed up because of that. And they scheme it well to get guys moved around. I just thought Ben needed to be better. I mean, it wasn't his worst game, obviously, but I mean, you have the lollipop of an interception to Vance. I mean, I think Ben said the ball just slipped. God, I hope so, because that was the ugliest throw I've ever seen in my entire life. So you're getting that. That wasn't a red zone interception, but it was a red zone fringe interception on the Chargers 22. The overthrow to Hunter, I mean, the most open dude in the world, and you overthrow him, and Hunter, separates his shoulder in the process. I mean, that's points right there. And if you make those two plays, you probably still hang on to win that game. And you didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an easy 7 to Hunter, obviously,
yep.
And what was I'm losing my place.
The
here.
interception?
Yeah, when did the intercept? Okay, the Hunter play happened right after the block punt too. So or deflected punt as it's officially being scored as. You go 3 and out. After getting the ball, you very rarely get the ball. The Steelers offense this season has very rarely gotten the football on the opposition's side of the field, and they were able to have great field position in that first half. And you want to talk about a huge 4-point differential in that situation. That's it. Yes, they got the Boswell 48-yard field goal, and it's good to come away with points there, but it just left a bad taste on your mouth to not have the easy touchdown there. Ben said he was trying to look the safety off, and then, just trying to just threw it too deep to Hunter. And Hunter, of course, dove on the play and injured his shoulder, and we'll get to that a little bit more in the injury recap. And then, of course, later or was it earlier in the where was the interception at? That was earlier in the second quarter there. 3rd and 10 at the Chargers 22-yard line. You're thinking, man, they're going to come away with at least some points here. And that was like that was like the 14th play of the drive. I think as well too. I mean, you really had done a good job of moving the football down the field on that drive, only to have and it looked, right after it happened too, it looked like he either didn't want to throw it or that it did slip. Whatever the reason is, it still goes into the book. There's no it slipped stat that I'm looking at in the NFL game book, and you just those things are so brutal. So effectively, at least you left 10 points on the board in the second quarter alone.
Yep, and that had been the difference in the game. So obviously the defense had their problems, special teams had their fair share of problems, but offensively, while this team did put up 30, and that's the number that you usually want to hit, you could have had 37, 40 points in this one, and you needed it, as it turned out. So that's frustrating. Again, I thought Ben played okay overall, a lot on his shoulders in this one, but needed to be better and missed some throws that should have been easy for any quarterback to complete.
A couple of key penalties too killed some drives. Early in the third quarter, first possession on a 2nd and 4 from the Chargers 48. James Conner goes 22 yards. DeCastro, I think you tweeted, DeCastro throwing dudes out of the club.
That was a corner, so it did make sense.
Right. I don't care. I'd like to see that. But it was kind of a meh call on Foster, right? I mean,
yeah, that was a bad call.
I had to go back and look at that a little bit closer. But the fact of the matter is it was called, and then you facing a 2nd and 14. A quick pass over to the left to Ryan Switzer on that play. I remember that one real well because I thought Alejandro Villanueva should have buried I think it was a defensive, maybe a safety out there on that play. Switzer probably only gets maybe 4 more yards, but it would have set up, probably a 3rd and 6 or 7 in that situation instead of a 3rd and 11. And then Ben just throws to McDonald, I think, short right side for 8 yards. And then, you're forced to punt, drive killer right there. And then the other one, the key penalty, I think, was the Alejandro Villanueva holding call on a 2nd and 9 from the Steelers 31 early. First play of the first quarter, as a matter of fact. And then after that, you're in a 2nd and long situation. Ben sacked by Bosa. Nice spin move to the inside of Matt Filer. Look, I mean, The fact that the last couple of games, this offensive line has done such a great job against, the pass rush tandem that they've gone against really speaks volumes. So, Ben, as you mentioned, did have a lot of time on a lot of dropbacks in this game.
Yeah, look at the AB touchdown, all day to throw, in multiple instances of that. So, yeah, this is not on the offensive line at all. I mean, the penalties were ticky-tack, and they played really well in run and pass. It was just Ben that didn't make those plays. I'm not asking for a whole lot there. I'm asking for Ben not to turn the football over in the red zone fringe. I'm asking for him to hit a wide-open Justin Hunter. And I've been on Justin Hunter's case more than anybody else in Steelers Nation since he got here, but this was not his fault at all. Ben opens things up, throwing a smoke screen 10 yards over Hunter's head. I don't know what happened there. And then you get him wide open on that crosser, that over route, and you miss him by a mile. That's just got to be better than that.
All right, what else offensively?
Like I said, the third down was such a huge number, and I know we've talked about so much about turnovers correlating to wins and losses, and that's very true and very important, but I look at the third down numbers, and I think there's also a very, very clear correlation between success and failure offensively and as a team, as there is on success and failure on third down. Again, you start the game 3 for 3, and you don't convert another third down after that. You go 0 for 7 the rest of the way. You finish the day 3 for 10. So on this, these last 3 games, the Jacksonville win, the Denver loss, the Chargers loss, you're sitting around 30% on third down. During the 5 previous games where you went 5-0 and won pretty handily, you were sitting around 62.5% on third down, best in the NFL. The first month of the season when you went 1-2-1, you were again sitting around 32% in the NFL. I think that was 28th in the league. So when you convert on third down, you win. When you don't, you lose. And that's been the story of the 2018 Pittsburgh Steelers.
And because they lost again, I'm sure there's going to be more talk about run-pass balance.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of that to Steelers Nation's credit. I mean, I think people understand that, again, you moved the football through the air pretty well. You did run it. You had definitely a desire to run it. You got caught in, 2-minute drill, which kind of skews the numbers towards the passing a little bit. But, yeah, you moved the football effectively. It was, again, similar to the Denver game, although this one you finished a little bit better, especially in the red area. But you left points on the board, and that's the frustrating aspect.
And then you gave them up on the back end in the second half there.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Berry, I mean, I thought he punted okay. He had a 60-something yarder in there, and I think he had another one pinned him down, 10, 12-yard line, somewhere around there. Not bad there. Special teams, it was a hodgepodge. I mean, they technically, I guess you could say, Fort blocked that one. Samuels has probably got to be a little bit smarter of knowing
lot smarter.
About knowing the rules. Once again, talking about rules and situations where players are not making the right decisions. That's been a common theme with Danny Smith, coach special teams, ever since he arrived, it seems like. Cost him some yardage there, right?
Do you think Samuels doesn't know the rule there, or do you think he just forgot and just had a rookie mistake? I think it's the latter.
We don't know how much these guys sleep in them special teams meetings, do we?
I mean, I like to think that Samuels is an attentive. He's a rookie.
I would like to think that it's covered.
I believe it's covered. I have to believe it's covered. Like I have to believe that Samuels, in hindsight, knows that he can't do that. He just forgot in the moment and made a dumb play.
And they almost blocked maybe one or two other ones in this game as well, too. And then, of course, the end-of-game situation was on the final field goal. I tweeted earlier in the season, man, so one time this year, Artie Burns is going to get him one. Mm-hmm. And he almost got him 2. Of course, he was offsides on both of them. Now on the miss that started it all, did you think – I forgot to go back and look at this. Did you think Hayden was offsides?
I thought watching it live he was, and they showed the replay and it looked closer. So I've only seen it those 2 times when it happened, so I don't know for sure. But it seemed closer than it felt live.
All right, and who was the defensive player that tweeted about the long snapper adjusting the ball?
Joe Schobert had a good point about it. You can talk about it.
Not go. I mean, what?
Did you? Okay. Yeah, Joe Schobert, the Browns linebacker. He was very active on Twitter last night. He kind of was after that false start miss. He commented back on my tweet actually and was like, "I've seen that before," because they got screwed on it back earlier this year. But Schobert said the Chargers long snapper likes to basically kind of adjust and move the ball around before his actual snap, and it screws with the defenders or with the rush team because they don't know when the snap is coming. And I think the refs have talked about it before and just said that's kind of what that guy does, and he's going to get away with it because that's what he's always done. So they basically let him kind of twist the football around the way that he does, and that apparently seemed to create some of the issue for being offsides 3 times in a row. But still, you got to be disciplined. You got to wait. And obviously, if Hayden doesn't go offsides there, it's a miss, and we're heading to OT.
All right, Antonio Brown, 10 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 for 49. Vance McDonald, 4 for 28. Jalen Samuels, you know what? He obviously, you want to see a guy not double catch a football.
Mm-hmm.
But, however, that bobble might have helped him score. Because it looked like the defenders kind of froze just for a moment, thinking that ball was going to come out, and that as he's continuing to move, he gets control of it. I'm not excusing it. You got to secure the football. One of the things when you go back and you're scouting like these college wide receivers or whatnot that I learned very about. A couple of years into it is all those catches might look great in the stat book, but it really pays to go back and watch the film and see how many of those were clean catches versus double catches. Because trying to double catch a football in the NFL will get it ripped right out of your hands. Mm-hmm. Now he was fortunate in that situation. I thought it was a big play and a big moment for him, and now he's made a couple of those for the Steelers on some scores here. So good on him there. I thought Ryan Switzer, even though he had 2 for 9, drawing that pass interference penalty on him learning to play bin ball and turning that up and kind of hesitating, he did a great job of drawing that call in the end zone. I'm tired of seeing him getting popped over the middle, though. I mean, just too small of a guy to constantly put him in those situations. Of course, Justin Hunter, 3 targets, no catches, but it should have been a 1 and a 1 there. Next to his name. L.J. Fort led the team in total tackles. Good for him. Overall, I thought he played a nice game. 12 total tackles. Had the blocked punt in the game as well, too. Sean Davis, maybe not so much. I thought Edmonds had a pretty decent game.
Yeah, I like to see the first sack of the year by a Steelers defensive back. He blitzed him so much that, you were dying for it to finally get home. I was yelling at the TV, though, to, finish that play where Edmonds was, running in, and he kind of slowed up, and then he finished the play and sacked Rivers. So, but again, you're looking for more splash. You're looking for more consistent tackling. I want to see that from Edmonds. I want to just see a more physical player overall. I did like the big hit on Eckler. That was good to see. I want to see more of that. I'll give Bud Dupree credit. I know that his game probably wasn't super impactful, but tough dude. I'll give him that. I mean, this guy's played through a lot of injuries. He's got this partially torn pec. I thought for sure he was going to miss. They call up a day and a, kind of seemed to indicate that, but nope, he was out there, started that game. So credit to Bud Dupree for being a tough SOB. What'd you think of a day and a getting 10, 15 snaps in this one?
Yeah, and I'll have to go back and look at him individually. Really haven't focused on him just yet, but he did draw a holding call there, so good on him. He had 10 snaps in total. I didn't focus in a lot on Marcus Allen in this game. Of course, active for the first time, first career time being dressed for a game. He played, I think, 17 total snaps. What did you see there?
Yeah, it was hard to see much on the first time through. Getting work, obviously, it's the Don guy, Cam Sutton, being inactive. I assume that was, for missing Friday's practice for the personal reasons, whatever was going on there. Seemed to do okay, though, for Allen. But, yeah, a lot of new guys playing yesterday. Adene, Marcus Allen, a lot of new faces out there.
Do you think any of that led to some of that not moving around there and letting Keenan Allen go in the slot?
I mean, there could be some sort of element of that, but you look at that final play harped on so much. You're in base. There's no Adene, there's no Allen. You got your guys out there. I don't know what compelled this team to take L.J. Fort off the field. I don't know if he truly got hurt or if something happened. I mean, I hope that's the answer, because if just taking him off because you just thought Bostic was the better guy for that situation, it's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So, but I can't make that as an excuse for him, because there are so many times where that wasn't even a factor.
All right, are you ready for the math portion of the show?
God, sure. On a Monday after a Steelers loss, yeah, more math.
Dave does math.
Yeah.
But before we get to the math section of the terrible podcast, Steelers Nation, sure, watching football is fun, but it's more entertaining when you have some action on the games. Guys and girls, you've heard me talking about this for weeks, and some of you are still on the sidelines. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at mybookie.ag. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like playing numbers on the roulette table, you can create a big parlay. Pick 3 teams as part of that parlay, and if you hit all 3, you can turn $100 into $600. There's so much to bet on right now. College basketball, college football, of course the bowl, we're now in bowl season here after next week. NBA, NHL, custom props, even esports, you name it. MyBookie.ag has it. MyBookie is the one bet I know you'll be happy with all year. I'm happy with them as well, too. I recommend these guys because I really trust them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is really easy to use. Sign up this week, and MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus to jumpstart your bankroll. It's a great way to bank even more money when you win. And addition to that, if you're on the Twitter machine, make sure to follow. I don't know, but a lot of people probably broke their Twitter machines last night. Also, make sure to follow MyBookie on Twitter at BetMyBookie. They personally respond to every mention and direct message they get, not to mention that they've given away more than $10,000 in free money to their followers so far this football season. By following them, you'll be the first to know as soon as new odds and props are posted. Don't miss out now on one of the best weeks to bet on sports this year. Log on to MyBookie right now and use promo code TERRIBLE, like Keith Butler's game plan last night. Terrible. To get 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code TERRIBLE. You play, you win, you get paid. Someone else who got paid earlier this year is Chris Boswell, and he's now missed how many extra points? 5?
5. Ooh, that segue hurt, Dave. That hurt my soul. It was good, but that hurt.
Yeah. All right. We had Brian Lando. I was going to try to do the math on this, but Brian tried to break it down for us about how the missed extra point played such a huge role in this thing. The missed extra point is a hidden reason we lost, writes Brian, amongst a million others I'm sure you'll discuss. Check this out. He says the scores should have been as follows as the game progressed. 7-0 Steelers, 14-0 Steelers instead of 13-0, 14-7 Steelers instead of 13-7 Steelers, 17-7 Steelers instead of 16-7 Steelers, and 24-7 Steelers, not 23-7. Then, when they scored to make it 23-13, they wouldn't have gone for 2. If it was 24-13, they'd be in the Chargers like it should have been. They'd have no reason to, since it would still be a 2-score game. So instead of 23-15, it should have been 24-14, then 24-21, and then the Chargers in the lead 24-28. Then the Steelers take the lead 31-28, and then the Chargers instead kick a game-tying field goal instead of a game-winning field goal. So Brian writes that missing the extra point made them 16 points down, not 17. Thus they went for 2 twice. Wouldn't have gone for 2 at all, he writes, if they were down 17 and not 16. He goes on to finish, I know there are so many other factors and reasons why they lost, but a simple thing like a missed extra point in the first quarter really haunted them. Anyways, can't wait to hear what you and Alex have to say. Thanks for the great content. Brian, great email. Obviously, we don't know how the game would have progressed, just after that one play, but you do make a great point of how the game did progress, and if it did progress that way, then yeah. It astounds me how many you watch these games every week, how many extra points are missed. And all these there's only 32 place kickers, in the NFL. Surely there could be people out there that have, that don't miss.
You'd like to think so, but I was listening to I think it was an older interview, but it was an interview with Pat McAfee the other day. I was before the Steelers game, and he was just talking about how
that's one funny unfiltered dude right there.
Yeah, No, he was in the booth 2 weeks ago, I think, calling a college game. It was awesome. More of that, please. But he was just talking about how moving the extra point with guys missing some more extra points now because it's 33 yards, not a chip shot, and it's become such a mental thing where some of these guys start missing more often than they're used to. It gets in their head, and it's not a physical thing. It's not so much a technique thing. It's truly just between the ears is what McAfee said, and maybe that's going on with Boz. I mean, it's kind of calmed down, and that's been good to see. But obviously it hurt the team yesterday, and thank you, Brian, for sending that email in, because I hadn't even thought about it from the 2-point conversion standpoint, but you're absolutely right.
All right, got another email while we're at it from Bob Francis. Bob writes, Dave and Alex, ugh. I even had trouble sleeping last night after that loss. Bob, Alex and I didn't get much sleep at all. I know there is lots to fix in all phases, but the officiating was sticking with me. The first three TDs for LA were all either aided directly by a no call or fluky, and we probably have an INT if Davis doesn't wipe out Hayden. How many times does a ball pop up like that and Allen catches it? ? Sheesh. With 6 games to go, I was hoping the team would go 2-1 against Denver, Oakland, and Cincinnati, and 1-2 against LA, Chargers, New England. That's 3-3, but still gets them to 10 wins and at worst a wild card. It's not great to start 0-2, and there are no gimmies, but they should still make the playoffs. Even 9-6-1 would probably be enough. He puts in parentheses, I'm still not too worried about Baltimore in the division. They have KC and the Chargers on the road, plus Cleveland at home. They can lose again and win the division. The Steelers managed 2 more wins. He's got a good point there. The Steelers were not great in the second half, but this is 2018. They give up 33 to a good offense with referee help, and 2 of those scores, and 1 was the special teams, not defense. KC gave up 33 yesterday to Oakland. I'm trying to keep perspective. There are no perfect teams in the AFC, so the Steelers could go on a run as much as anyone if they can just squeeze into the playoffs. How are you guys feeling? Well, that's he titled this email "Glass Still Half Full" with a question mark. I guess that's a good email, Bob, and is about probably as optimistic as you could be after all that's happened the last 3 weeks, maybe. But the fact of the matter boils down to, and I've said this for a while, we're not going to know who this defense is. Look, I don't, am I a little bit worried about Ben? Yeah, how can you not be? I mean, he the last 3 games, the interceptions and the missed throws, yada, yada. But they're still putting points on the board in the process. The defense, the 3 good tests this defense has, the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Saints, they obviously failed their first test Sunday night. Can they beat the Patriots or the Saints? Let's look at it this way. 4 games left. You got Raiders, Patriots, Saints, Bengals. How many of those games are the Steelers going to win?
Well, you like to think at least 2. Oakland next week. So playing at Oakland's never easy on this team.
They have not won in Oakland since 95. Last 3 trips, losses.
I mean, they should. They're a better team. But, yeah, like you said, no guarantees. You should beat Cincy, but there's no guarantee. AFC North matchup. Bengals trying to play spoiler, I'm sure, for whatever spoiler that is. We'll see. So, at least 2-2. I just, did you say, Dave, that you don't know what this defense is? Or talking about the Steelers?
I got a pretty good idea now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I do, too. And I think it might only get worse after you play.
What's Tom Brady going to do to that?
All right. Drew Brees in New Orleans at home.
Are you going to have to score 45?
50.
Maybe 50.
Yeah. I don't trust the defense to make that play. I think there's some things this defense does well. They're not a terrible group, but I said it back in week 3, and I wrote about it last night, that the talent can't overcome coaching, and the coaching can't overcome talent. That's where this defense sits.
And that's why I was trying to warn people. Look, anything can happen. Should this team make the playoffs? Yes. Are they going to be the number 1 seed? No. Are they going to be the number 2 seed? Not unless they go 4-0 and then have some things happen. Are they going to be the 3 seed? Maybe, but in all likelihood, or at least my glass half full, is them being the 4 seed at this point. So we might just be talking about to Eric D. Williams again in a few more weeks, as far as a wild card game goes, quite realistically, and maybe hopefully in Pittsburgh again if that's the case. But you had that false sense of security about the defense during that 6-game winning streak, in my opinion.
Well,
Because
yeah,
I mean, look at who they played, and look at the outside of the Ravens, who, let's face it, that Ravens defense. I mean, that Ravens team right now is all centered around their defense, and it's a good one. I mean, it really is. When you have Lamar Jackson throwing, he's made 3 starts now. He's 3-0 in all 3 games. He's thrown for 175 yards or less. Now he's running for another 70 to 100, whatever. But I mean, how long can you get away with that? Now, if their defense is playing good, quite a while. Now you want to know more about a defense here this season? They have to play the Chiefs and the Chargers the next 2 weeks. So, we're going to find out who Baltimore is for sure. But yeah, it just goes back to what I said. Since week 5 and on, it's just been this kind of false sense of security about a defense that only allowed, I think, or a team that only allowed 18.6 points per game or something like that. They've got to do a better job, and ball awareness, lead pipe, I don't know. But whatever way, you better figure out how to take the football away from the opposing offense.
Yep, couldn't agree more. So, yeah, the AFC North, I mean, Steelers still obviously control their own destiny, but Baltimore's right behind them. It's not locked up the way it felt 2 weeks ago. Steelers had their chance. They failed so far, and Baltimore's right back into it. And you're right, that defense is super strong. They're not creating enough turnovers, talking about Baltimore, which is kind of weird for them, but nothing's guaranteed at this point. And, yeah, I think you're looking at a 4 seed because Houston's the hottest team in football right now. You got the Patriots, who are always, they're not going to be a 4 seed. KC's going to, probably be the 1 seed here, either them or New England. So that leaves Steelers, probably at best as the number 4 seed.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. Maybe they can get the number 3. I don't know, but I mean, 1's definitely out at this point. I mean, in order for that to happen, you have to root for Baltimore anyway.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be rooting for Baltimore? Right now. So I guess the only real question right now, it looks like, I mean, is Baltimore going to be the number 6 seed?
Maybe. I'd have to look at it, 5 or 6.
I mean, we'll see there. All right, the Steelers did suffer quite a few injuries on Sunday night against the Chargers in that loss, and it starts with James Conner, lower leg contusion. And at first, the way he was reacting, I thought, man, did he break it? But I guess some of the media reports out there saying he was moving around, I guess, okay after the game. We're not going to learn more about him until Mike Tomlin talks to the media on Tuesday. It wouldn't be surprising if they let him sit out this game against the Raiders. The way he was kind of moving after that. We'll like I said, Tomlin will probably let us know a little bit more about that in the practice participation starting on Wednesday. Will be a better guide as well too. I don't expect him to work on Wednesday and Thursday, to be honest with you, but I've been wrong before. Ryan Switzer's in concussion protocol thanks to that fourth quarter hit that he took. Chicolo has an ankle. Justin Hunter obviously injured his shoulder. Evidently had it in some sort of contraption after the game. That's not looking good for him. Now the question becomes, how long is he out?
Mm-hmm.
And does this now open up a spot for Eli Rogers to get activated to the 53-man roster? So interesting thing to watch there. The big winner in that situation, if you call it that, would probably be James Washington, who was inactive for just the second time this season against the Chargers. So now he will likely get a helmet back starting against the Oakland Raiders. Long snapper Cameron Canaday also suffered a knee sprain. I think it happened on the punt return by Des King there, but he was able to return to the game as well too. And Anthony Chicolo, I did not see when this happened, but Mike Thomas said he suffered an ankle injury. Part of the minutia of the roster move that happened on Saturday of Ola getting promoted to the 53, it was that Matthew Thomas was waived. A little bit surprising there. We will now see what happens to Matthew Thomas. Will he make it back to the practice squad? They've got a couple extra outside linebackers in Adams and Hugan in in there that they could choose from if they want to cut that way. So maybe Matthew Thomas makes it back around there. Needless to say, I think we are looking at maybe at least one, maybe two roster moves coming for the Steelers this next week.
Agreed. I think it's going to be a busy week. I wonder if Chick re-injured that ankle. Remember he hurt that ankle against, I think, Denver or the Jacksonville game, last play. He injured that ankle, so I don't know if that's a re-injury of that or if that's something new. Canada did come back, but he was limping really bad. I mean, he was just snapping the ball and that was it. So you could get a roster move there, possibly. Yeah, it's gonna be a busy week. You could have Eli Rogers like starting in the slot next week for all we know. If Switzer's out and Hunter's gonna be done for the year.
All right, what else do we have to go over here?
What's your, and I might know the answer to this, but what's your biggest concern with this Steelers team right now on the whole? Offense, defense, special teams, whatever.
Defense. I mean, defense. Plain and simple. I worry about these games against the Patriots and the Saints, and yeah. I have all year.
Yep. Is it the turnovers or is it something more than that? Or just all the above?
It's just all of it. I mean, how can you not getting turnovers? You see all these turnovers happen around the league. It's that and the ability to get stops when they really need them.
Yep.
Like we saw in that in that final drive that Chargers had last night. I mean, you did everything, you got yourself back in the game, and you let it slip back through again.
Yeah, back-to-back games where you're walking away saying should have won that one, had every chance. Blew every chance. And that's what it
shoulda, woulda, coulda is probably the mantra of the fight song of Steelers Nation.
Yeah.
But all right, Mike Tomlin, of course, will talk to the media on Tuesday. We'll try to get a beat writer from the Raiders to come on with us for the Wednesday show to start previewing that. You and I and Matthew and everybody else will dig into this tape a little bit more starting tonight to see what else we can find out that went wrong and be back at it again on Wednesday. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. You can email us, like we got a couple of nice emails like we read earlier on the show. TheTerriblePodcast at gmail.com. Go ahead and get it all off your chest. Get a good cleansing there. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.